I do what I can. What's up, people?
The Craig Jackson Show. Real people, real business, real estate. The Craig Jackson Show. Real people, real business, real estate. The Craig Jackson Show. Real people, real business, real estate. The Craig Jackson Show. Real people, real business, real estate.
Yeah, we're out here. How's everybody doing? Hope you're feeling good. Craig, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, Pat. How about yourself,
Been
brother?
a couple weeks. You've been busy. You've been busy doing real estate. You know, Craig does real estate, so that's his priority. But we still are moving with the Craig Jackson Show because the online world doesn't stop turning. You know, it just keeps on going in circles and loops and figure eights. And you had a couple big interviews since our last show. Why don't you tell everybody about that?
Yeah, man. Appreciate it, Pat. Just want you to know I appreciate everything you do. Yeah, we just basically, you know, like I was telling you, it's really from the things, the groundwork we're laying here, and that's absolutely evidence of it's like, you know, we had those prior conversations, me and you, and we're talking about, you know, okay, this is what we need to do, this is why we need to get started, and this is why we need to get started now. And you were the main one, like, dude, you know, let's get this window. The time is now.
Right.
Super outside of my comfort zone. We step into play, and basically, you know, it folks get a chance to see what we're doing. You know, where the internal structure lies within, you know, both of us, and just like our mindset and where we're wanting to go with things. People picked up on that, you know. Then I had people reach out. One was Property Queens. One's a lender. It's three women that are crushing it here in Nashville. One's a local lender, and the other is so two lenders and then an agent. And you know, they've just got a show, just basically educating from investment side to the retail side, and just, you know, helping folks understand even anything from general understandings to the more complex side of the business, just helping get good information out there for the market. And, you know, they were kind enough to invite me on. So,
yeah, they were super
that.
cool. And that interview blew up a little bit on Instagram. It gained a lot of traction on your page, which was cool. And Ty and I were talking yesterday. I mean, certain things I'm noticing since I run a lot of social media pages and do a bunch of different shows with different personalities is that certain stuff works on certain platforms better than it does on other platforms. Certain pieces of content hit way harder for Ty on LinkedIn or something than it does on Facebook or Instagram. Like your Instagram, the same thing that I used on something that blew up on LinkedIn popped on your Instagram. So you got to be everywhere.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see more and more of the Instagrams and the linked influencer. Linked influencer is a hot new term everywhere. And Facebook is now talking about releasing their new cryptocurrency. So the digital marketplace, it waits for no one. And so it's cool that I'm able to use these tools and these production skills that I've used for myself forever to give people their own voice and their own brand and build their own channels and get out into the marketplace and talk about what they do, who they are, and most importantly, where they're going.
Yep.
Because we're all really going to the same place. We're all business owners. We want to be successful. We want to monetize our brands. We want to have fun and work with great people. And the best way to put that out into the world is through online. And by putting out constantly pumping out, and like we had an episode, planting seeds of being positive and establishing yourself as a voice and as an expert in these communities.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, right, like just one little interesting tidbit for me, like yesterday, I'm at a gas station. We actually did a walkthrough on a house out in Hermitage. It's on the lake there. We're still running some numbers to see if this is going to work. It's a really nice home, but just we got to make sure, because we know what our rental budget is, and so numbers might be tight, and that might not end up fitting. But I was at the gas station. We were actually had just left there. I was letting the girls use the restroom, and a local investor, was walking by my truck. And at first I thought, okay, because you just never know these days. And he's all like kind of looking in, and he comes up. He's like, "You Craig Jackson?" I'm like, "Yes, sir." He's like, "Oh man, dude." He's like, "I see all your content." He's like, "Excellent job on the podcast. I really appreciate what you're doing." And then he asked me, some of my background or some of the story, some of what we're doing now.
Yeah.
And it was really just a good conversation. And, honestly, Pat, would that conversation have happened had we not been pumping out the content? Who knows? And so that's just one example of 20 that I've already probably told you about, of folks reaching out, and not in an arrogant or a none of that is valuable for me. I really enjoy the fact that people are taking to the content as far as they feel like they're getting something, one piece or another. And that's super rewarding, for what we're doing here, man.
Well, absolutely. And, a lot of times, like, I run the Facebook feed mainly because that's where most of, like, my friends who have followed me for a long time, or people I grew up with, or people I worked with in Vegas are. But, there's all these different platforms now.
Yep.
And, I feel like the MySpace people carried over to Facebook.
Yep. We did.
And now it's like there's all these different ways for us to communicate with people and communicate our message. And whether it's real estate or it's digital marketing or it's singing advertisements, all this kind of stuff goes together now. And the biggest names in the game are using all of these things to get their message out to the world. And it's incredible. And it's changed so much, and the power is in our corner now.
Absolutely. Well, that's one thing I've purely got to work on is, like you said, we get, for me, I've focused heavily on Facebook just because that's kind of where I was. That's where it carried over. Like you said, we kind of probably were, early users or, whatever. And I do well as far as networking on here. In my personal opinion, met some really awesome people, including yourself, but definitely got to amp that up as far as looking at LinkedIn, which I do share on there, as well as Instagram, like you said, and that's starting to gain a little momentum. But I'd love to make sure that I'm purely showing equal love to all of those areas and anyone that's interested in any of the content.
Absolutely. And I'm learning as I go. There's going to be soon LinkedIn Live, where our broadcast will soon be live on LinkedIn Live. I mean, we're on Periscope and YouTube and Facebook and all these different platforms, but it's constantly expanding, and there's always going to be someone who's maybe hotter on LinkedIn than they are on Instagram. There's this girl I follow, I think her name's Shay Rockbottom or Rotbottom or whatever. She's going to beat me up for getting her name wrong. But, dude, she is huge on LinkedIn. But she's not really the biggest Instagram freak. Like, I never see any of her videos on Instagram. They're all on LinkedIn because that's where her traction is.
Yeah.
And she's got to be a lot younger than I am. So maybe that's where her audience base started, and that's where she blossomed, where I blossomed more on Facebook at the beginning. But part of running a business or part of being online and getting your message out is making sure that you're on all these different channels.
That's right. It's really, to me, I think it's about, like you said, and you already know it well, but that consistency.
Yep.
And just showing up equally, on all those areas. And like you said, It takes time to kind of learn the algorithms and what the marketplace is seeking.
And the process, which is what we're going to talk about today, is coming up with a blueprint of where we want to go, and then hacking away at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and making sure that process is fluid.
Absolutely.
It's cool. It's exciting. It's an exciting time to be in the business world. I think that we have advantages that have never existed before, and I don't think that. I know that because it's just the facts. Our grandparents didn't have LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram. They had to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for TV ads that may or may not do anything for them.
Right, or just the ability to meet a gentleman like yourself. Here you are, you're in San Diego, I believe, at the time we first started talking. It was pretty much just free access. And then the unique part of it is like you said, man, I mean, it's just being able to, the networks are, pretty much free access to unlimited potential.
Absolutely. And that's part of what I learned was it didn't matter where I was located, because my audience is online. My customer base is online. Once I was able to scale my digital marketing business out of the corner of the bar, which was very hard, and there's nothing wrong with playing in the corner of the bar. That's what got me here.
Right.
And I was just talking to my buddy John Riker, who owns Harpo's back home, and without playing happy hour at Harpo's 7 or 8 years ago, I probably wouldn't be doing this, because I wouldn't be as good at running the gear without doing it every single week. Like, we do these live broadcasts, there's very few mistakes. Very few. There was a little lagging because I'm trying to switch to the DSLR, but overall, these productions are fairly clean. One microphone and a used laptop that I bought, I don't know, a couple years ago. There's going to be upgrades. There's going to be scaling and all this. That's part of the process. But right now, it's great. And it's now moving you into new territory, because people are like, oh, well, Craig's got a voice in the industry online, where some people maybe don't. Some people don't care about Facebook or Instagram. But I think that not caring could potentially limit people's growth in their business by not inserting them into the online digital space. It's
super imperative that, I mean, honestly, brother, I get the mindset where it's like, is that plausible? Like, do I need to do that? Especially if you've got folks that have been in the business, say 20, 30 years.
Right.
They've got their clientele, they've got their history. But if they knew, I mean, literally, brother, I can't tell you how many one-time interactions have turned into transactions, right? And not necessarily like a monetary gain for my business. I mean, you and I. So that's an external payment that I'm making that turned into a transaction.
Right.
And that's happened multiple handfuls of times. I highly recommend, at least at minimum, if you don't want to do podcasts, that's fine. You don't want to do, some of the sharing, that's fine. But man, take the time, comment on a post here and there, talk to people, ask questions, get in some of these groups.
Just engage. I was about to say, engaging in groups has helped people enormously, especially in the real estate space.
It changed my life. Mixing, the new learnings, and of course, in person and, off the interwebs, mixing that with I feel like I've learned exponentially versus what my capabilities would have been by myself, just like you and I started out. We didn't have instant messenger or this or that, or serious professionals on the other end of this platform. You have ease of access to change the game, man. And there's so many good folks out there that are just willing to actually give the information out. It's almost disheartening, when you hear folks say, I don't want to use social media and all that. And I get the toxicity level that can be there. So it's all about maturing and growing.
And here's another thing is that you can choose who you want to follow on these
That's right.
If you don't like something, then unfollow it. I mean, my mom has told me before that she has friends that unfollowed my Facebook page because they think I'm annoying. That's fine.
Well, they don't understand what you're doing.
They're not necessarily my demographic. Plus,
Right.
they knew me when I was an annoying kid, too. But at the
Right.
same time, it's just like, that's fine. That opens more space for somebody else.
That's right.
That's
right.
okay.
But
It's no hard feelings.
But it's super productive end over end. Like when you evaluate, like God, dude, I can tell you endless relationships that have been built that started online.
Most of my stuff that I've ever done in my life came from online platforms, or just meeting people in person by being connected originally from someone that was an online, even if it was email. Even
Just
if
like
I get
it.
an email address from somebody, it's like the more hands you shake, the more money you make.
Well, what you're doing is basically you're allowing someone to have, even if it's just a quick second of a soft introduction, quote unquote, like you said, whether it's an email, here, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever we're going with our content, just seeing your name, right? So they
Right.
at least that kind of breaks the ice. So they're like, okay, maybe I can ask this dude a couple of questions.
Right.
And next thing you know, they implement something. Like I said, man, the groups are the best because you get in there. Now I'd vet some of those out. Some folks have different motives, but you get in some good groups, man. Like the one, you've got some stuff going. I've got some stuff local for actually investment properties or whatever. But you get in there and really, man, I mean, there's guys, been in the business 4 decades. And they'll answer any and everything you happen to ask. And I mean, that's you can't. I don't know that you can actually put a dollar value on that. You know what I mean?
Probably not. Probably
Just
not.
like yourself. I mean, you got 20 years of production and all the things you've worked on, dude. I mean, that's super valuable.
Yeah, I was talking to this gal yesterday. I think you commented on the video, and she's like 22, and I'm like 36. And I was just like, man, when I was 22, it was like Hawthorne Heights was like the biggest thing on MySpace. Story of the Year was like
Right.
the biggest thing on MySpace. And I was like still buying CDs and saving the files off of CDs. And it's just like now you can just get on Spotify and
And it's
listen
there.
to everything.
Oh yeah, we went. Yes, sir.
It's crazy.
Yeah, the kids don't know. Let's talk a little bit about where the
Maybe it's too loud.
organizations and processes.
Is that better, Adam? Apparently the thing's a little loud. Let me go and listen. Why don't you tell people what your system is?
Okay,
with
so well,
Going through your stuff on how you do real estate, how you do deals. That's probably a little bit more clear. I think I had it cranked. I crank it for
me?
Ty and I because there's 2 of us, and then I plug into here and I'm like, bah!
Is he saying
why
it's
don't
my
you tell
side or
people
your
what
side?
your process is for real estate deals? How do you go about finding them? How do you go about making offers? I mean, what's your process for that?
Yeah, so tons of avenues. I wanted to touch on a little bit of a different area, but I'll go ahead and fill that in. I do a ton of network marketing. I believe in the power. I've watched it and felt it and performed it well enough multiple times over to know how powerful this thing really is. I can't tell you how much of a downline or however you want to put it, that of just flow of information and communication to where like my inbox is constantly firing off, and I'm super grateful and appreciative. Either people asking questions, people asking about a property, tons of agents saying, hey, we're fixing to list this. Would you find any value here? And I love that because we must be doing something right. And what I mean by that is there's a ton of agents that may not know. And I love that part because that means that we've broken down some type of boundary to where they feel comfortable enough to say, I don't know.
Right.
But what do you think here? And that opens up the opportunity for us to both communicate together. And it's just awesome because then like you're educating some folks, it just grows and grows and grows. I do a ton of network marketing for a lot of what I do. We buy lists. There's a guy out of Arizona, Brad Pickett, that does, I think it's REI Pro. And, they're already skip traced, or, you've got, and I think it's like 75 or 80% guarantee on the accuracy of the address and numbers. And then, we'll either dial in house, or I've got agents that'll hit list. We've got agents that door knock. It just all depends. There's a ton of relationships there, but I'm actually personally still working on building that out because it's evolved on me. What does that mean? Full transparency here. 18 months ago, we were doing assignments and wholesales, and I thought, okay, if I scale this, my average close was starting to become, 25 to 30K. If I do this
sweet
five times, 10 times a month, there's the math. It was basic. All right, now I can scale. How many people can we help? So on and so forth. But this has actually evolved on me, Pat, and I'll touch back on this to kind of bring it full circle. As I found myself going along and just getting deeper into the networks and just, I like to be a student of the game, and I love to like soak in and learn as much as I can. Any downtime, I'm trying to read something, I'm trying to educate myself, even if it's a post, if it's a book, anything to elevate just a new level of understanding, whether it's on the personal, internal side, external, fitness, business, so on and so forth. So as I'm kind of evolving on myself, right? So I'm like, okay, if I scale this and I do this, so there's the concept. You'll hear this a lot between investors. Some will say go deep, not wide. That means if you end up in a place where you're spending $100,000 a month, but you're in Nashville and you know your market, some people say that's the best play instead of going wide where you're trying to multiply your operations in multiple markets. I'm still work in progress on that. Like, I haven't fully decided exactly how we want to go. And I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm in a place in my life where I'm absolutely okay with not knowing everything. And allowing myself time to just get things into play,
right?
To then make my next best decision. If that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense.
So the reason I'm telling you all this, so 18 months ago, if you'd have asked me, I'd have wanted to build these monstrous systems that bought tons of lists, and then those lists were tons of dollars, maybe working with Nicholas Nick with Lead Engines, I think it is, or actually,
lead mining.
Lead mining. There
He's
you
cool.
go. Jason, another buddy of mine's Lead Engines. And then, or Lex Meredith and what he's doing. I got a couple, and then you got Carlos. So there's 3 folks that are actual real estate, or I know 2 for sure that are actual real estate investors that started the call center. So anyways, that's still open for discussion,
right?
But I'm seeing how all this evolves, because as that started, we started closing enough deals to, make sense of some clarity out in front of us, to have a little bit of time to look at things, right? Then that said, there was initially an idea that stemmed off of the list and the volume and the dialing and creating an app. That app was going to be to streamline directly for the business model.
Right.
That evolved into how can we utilize a part of this idea to help maybe anyone that maybe want to be involved in real estate. And I could explain in more depth, and we'll leave that for another time. But
the process of creating that is still work.
Exactly.
And
but
you have to have a system, right?
To the point where the volume is no longer about us directly, but more about providing a very unique and new idea and opportunity for a lot of folks. And you know a little bit more about that. I want to be careful how I share that right now.
Right. I mean, you want to help as many people as you can with real estate, period.
Absolutely. And so we're doing enough volume with the current operations, with just networking, dialing our list that we've already paid for on a schedule, whether literally me picking up the phone, someone I'm working with, an agent that says, hey, I've got, 2 free days, let's blow some stuff out, whether or not they're door knocking, whether they ask, okay, what's the area, whether it's our bandit signs. We were doing enough volume to not get in a hurry and put really expensive systems in place that take real organization in order to monetize properly.
Right.
So you're not overspending, and then you're playing the rat race. I've been there, and I just want to be patient, and I just want to be thoughtful when I do everything that I do. So with that said, that's my processes. We're doing a ton of networking, signs, list. We are dialing, but it's not on per se day to day. This is how everything happens every single day, and that's it. It's not that cut and dry for me.
Right.
And then I'm saying that to say this. That's why I felt it was important for me, 18 years in experience. Some people say, I'll tell you straight up, I had 15 years, tons of learning experiences that could be classified as quite a few failures. I think they were ways of elevating. I don't think they were failures at all. But to clarify, one thing I can say is that I know for a fact I would have been a lot better off starting day one, figuring out what type processes it takes to run a business.
Right.
And what procedures and or operations I need in place in order for me to be the most efficient with my time, with my finances, with my family,
yep,
so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the one thing that most business owners would say is, and that's, again, the cool thing about the internet is that YouTube and the Grant Cardones and the Ed Miletts and all these people that have dealt with that same shit, Andy Frisella and all these people are now teaching us how to not make those mistakes.
That's right, brother. That's I think they started, him and Ed, Andy and Ed, they started a university. I don't remember the name, but
the Arete Syndicate. They emailed me about 600 times in the last 2 days. I never signed up. Sorry, guys.
No, it's all good. It literally, the core of it.
I think it's dope.
Getting
one
people,
day I probably will do it.
Getting people through the hoops to pretty much getting them in the mindset of understanding, stick to processes and procedures, bookkeeping.
I mean, if you're going to pay people, those are two good guys to pay.
Well,
let's be honest.
But I'm talking like just the bare bones of business.
Right.
This doesn't have to be real estate. It doesn't. It is super. That's what I really wanted to share. It is super crucial to your mindset, to your overall health, and to the health of the people that are around you, because they're impacted by your decisions,
right,
and by your business. Your business becomes your life. You know this.
It is. Yeah.
And the processes from just taking the time to go speak with a licensed CPA, maybe make sure they're a master in your trade. I would advise that if they really kind of are into music and production and this, and then, or, to me, if I were in your, that's what I'd be seeking. So, but I highly advise, and what do most of us do? I can't afford that. I can't afford doing that. I can't afford to pay those taxes the first year or the second year. And I'm not saying that there aren't people that do. Kudos to you. I was pretty broke. I was scraping by. I had an idea, but my point is, I still would have been better off and healthier and probably had more successes early on had I put systems in play that allowed me to do what I did best versus carrying all that bad baggage with me for a decade. It's mind space that's holding, whether we even comprehend that, because as business owners, we become pretty blind, right? So we got our blinders on. We're like a horse, right? They put those blinders
like tunnel
on.
vision. I mean, you see the goal and you're focused on the goal, but sometimes the things that you're doing to get to that goal aren't the most efficient, and it takes longer. And you don't realize that until you learn that sometimes the hard way. I mean, I learned everything though. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've had a lot of fun. But I've made a lot of mistakes while I had that fun. I've made some mistakes because I had so much fun. But I'm still here doing what I signed up to do when I went to production school in 2003 or 4 or whatever it was, 2002. I mean, this is what I wanted to do, was produce music and produce shows and produce live events and travel around and sing songs and make advertisements. I'm doing all of that stuff and I'm having fun, and doing it is always the best way to learn.
That's right. But look at yourself, right? So what's one of the core things that you told me yesterday? You're working with some folks that
they're way better at business structure than I am. So their goal is to allow me to be creative as much as possible and to output as much creative juice as possible so that we can harness that and build a structure around it. Rather than have me overwork myself in 10 different areas and have it be unsustainable. That's not a profitable business model for anyone.
Right. And it seems super expensive. And the thing is, brother, like these people, young folks or even people my age, like Pat said, you guys have endless opportunities because you have someone that's probably right in your sphere of network right now that could, answer a few questions that would save you, sometimes a year.
You have YouTube.
Years of pain point. And YouTube, it's like a do-it-all, self-explanatory, whatever.
That's awesome.
So it's like, please utilize that information, because if there's one thing I've learned, and just this week, last week, I'm still implementing and learning procedures, even after almost a couple decades in business, and I'm still learning how valuable and how important those systems are, which I know that those, like you said, scaling and doing volume and doing 20, 30 deals a month, that's absolutely on my radar.
Right.
But there's other things evolving in front of me that I'm just, like I said, I guess I'm just taking my time.
Well, right. I mean, you might as well do it right the first time.
That's where I'm at, brother. I used to run full throttle, and I've hurt myself really bad doing that.
Well, right. I mean, I've been running microphone systems since I was in high school, and it's like it was just a little too loud earlier. No big deal. So fix it and move on. Like I said, our streams, for the most part, are pretty freaking clean, and it's only going to get better. I mean, we're looking to start adding sponsorships to these shows, and with that sponsorship comes social media management and an advertisement every month and this and that and the other thing that can bring value to people's brands. And I mean, that's all stuff that everyone needs these days, because even the lawn care guy right down the street has 6 or 7 competitors. And if those 6 or 7 competitors are online, and it doesn't matter if that guy's service is better, if people know those other people, that's who they're going to call first.
Well, Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing. I
And
just
that's
want to throw this.
I'm relating that to you because it's like you're putting your voice out into the real estate marketplace in Nashville, and it's like eventually after a while people are going to ask you for your opinion because you're out there more than others.
That's
Not
exactly
everyone,
right.
but certain other people who aren't investing in being in the digital space aren't going to be looked at as the authority 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now.
That's exactly what's happening, Pat. I mean, literally, it's not like a position of like look where it's really like people are coming at me with this mindset. People feel the vibe, they feel wherever we're at, kind of the human energy in general.
Yeah, I mean, our show's pretty transparent. I mean, we're just
and they're coming,
two dudes
they're
to
just saying,
chat and have fun.
Yeah, they're just saying, hey, got a question. And it's like we're breaking down those barriers. And so that's exactly what I wanted to accomplish. And then that and much more as we grow. But just wanted to throw this out there. Please, at any point, I'm going to share or put something on my page to where I really mean this. Every single person that's building a business or even if it's a side business and you work a full-time job, but you kind of want to do this on the weekend or this or that, I want to kind of try to put something together, will put something together. And hopefully you guys will just participate and just say, screw it. I'm just going to ask. And if there's any way, let's utilize our networks. Let's utilize the power of those networks. We can show you real life how they work if you're kind of skeptical or whatever, and then there's plenty of folks that already know, but
Absolutely.
still might have a question. Ask anything you can that's the next step or the next understanding, and hopefully someone maybe will post a link to give you some insight that's learning from YouTube, or maybe you'll get a response, or maybe you're looking for a bookkeeper and you're in your market and then someone in the network knows someone, or you're looking for a
There's always somebody on these pages that has done or is doing what you want to do.
That's or you're looking for a digital.
There's no reason. Yeah, there's no reason to be intimidated by any of that. Like I made that group, Digital Marketing Assassins, because my goal is to show people that, like, listen, this worked for me. I was DJing and singing songs in the corner of my friend's bar in St. Louis no more than 6 years ago back home. After 6 years before that, I was working a corporate sound job for some of the biggest names in rock and roll. And some people didn't even know that I did that because I didn't really talk about it that much because I didn't have a platform like this to talk about it either. And It's all just shit that I've done. It's just, what's next now? This is what's next. How can I bring value to entrepreneurs and to brands and business owners and investors using the tools and the talents that I have so that they can just show up and be more successful by putting themselves out there?
Just the knowledge that you have in your head when it comes to production and digital marketing and all the areas that you're plugged into, like Billie Jean and just all these.
Well, those guys are pretty good.
This stuff is real, but it's real, and it makes real dollars to put. Business is transforming. We're in a very unique time. It's going to keep transforming. We're going to see folks. You see 2 years ago, 2017, I'm first getting into learning funnels and things like that, and then you see big brands. You see HCA. All of a sudden, then it's on the news where literally within like a month, I'm telling my family about funnels and what they're for, and that there's good ones, of course, and then there's shitty ones.
Right.
But the good ones, all it is it's always been somewhat of a funnel, whether it's TV marketing, to call the number and then they get your number for a follow-up. So it's all the same. It's just transformed into another form of marketing. But my point is, this stuff is real. It's really impacting.
Well, and it's at your fingertips now. And I was saying that the other day. It's like back in the day, we needed NBC and all these contracts and all these big speaker systems and these big computer systems. Like, this whole thing's all happening on a laptop and on one little microphone. And it's just like, that's crazy. That's so crazy.
My
and it's a
daughter
worldwide TV show at this point.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
My daughter loves him, and honestly, I think I actually like, plenty of his music. It's actually at least good, wholesome music. Justin Bieber, he's just a prime example. The dude just put a bunch of YouTube content. He just put a bunch of YouTube content out there and he kept staying consistent, believing in himself, and, the right person's eyes, and boom. So we just want to get people actively involved, because if you're not moving forward, you are falling behind. And this is not a sales pitch. I have nothing I'm throwing at you. I just want you to be open to new networks, to be open to new processes and learning from new folks, because there is a ton
and build that into your schedule.
Super valuable content out here.
Absolutely. Make that a priority. Make that part of your daily process would be my suggestion. It's like, if you go and look at the Instagram videos that I've been posting lately, like there's something that's added to them every time, whether it's become motion backgrounds, or I started adding these lines across the screen and putting the timer inside the line instead of just doing the timer. Sometimes there's just a solid banner. Sometimes it's motion, but like I make all of that. Like I don't have an assistant. Right. I don't have a VA or an editor. I do the audio and the song and the performance. I have to set up all the stuff and then play the song. Like I don't have studio people that do that for me. That's all. I do all of that.
It's all authentic.
Right.
It's all authentic. And that's why people feel and vibe on that. Dude, I can't tell you how many follows and likes I get on my page. And it's from people all over the U.S. and they're your friends. They'll be like, one mutual friend. And so my point is, you have a very loyal following that's there, of people that love and respect what you're doing, and they want to see you prosper and grow. Like it's inevitable at this point, brother.
And I never changed what I was doing to try and fit what's hot. Like I just did what I did.
Well,
like,
and you did what you felt was good and right mixed with that.
Right, like so if one place needed me to click on songs and be the quote-unquote DJ, no disrespect to DJs, it's just I'm not good enough to actually run a real board, so I just click on songs that people want to hear. But that's what certain people needed in that marketplace. The next marketplace was more oriented towards my live music, which is what most of my passion is, but it's all based on live production. It's all based on the same thing that we're doing right now.
Yes, sir.
It's just a different format for a different audience.
Right.
This format, I'm running the system for like a talk show. It's awesome.
What I love about it most is you're doing what you're passionate about. You're doing what you dreamed, and you're getting to live that through a real reality of helping like-minded folks. We all elevate together.
Right.
And it's just super fun to watch all your growth. And I mean, it looks like I think you picked up a couple clients this week.
Yeah, and you too. I mean, it goes both ways. It's like we're like, well, let's double up on shows Wednesday and Thursday because you've been busy. You had other interviews to do. You had other Skype calls to make. It's like, dude, that's badass, because that's the goal, is to make sure that we're exploding in other areas, and then we come back into this lane and we push forward, and then we go and we explode in other areas. That's the entire process of getting on and presenting yourself as an authority.
That's right. Well, it's almost therapeutic in a sense. I really love our conversations, and I'm hoping that many others feel the same. But it's like I get to talk about the real. We get to talk about the real experiences, the real stuff that's going on, and what's fun about that is you actually realize there's such a common ground out here when you really dig into, like, even if it's real estate, digital production. Across the board, there's so many similarities.
Yep.
That it's like I said, it's like if people just get to talking, they'll realize that the problems they're seeing are very ununique in most cases.
Yep.
And you know, we've all been there one way, one form or another. And, you know, something you went through 10 years ago, you can help someone change in a 20-minute conversation versus them having to live it for a year.
Absolutely. And somebody messaged me the other day and they were like, hey man, what's the best way for me to like be a famous musician? He's like, just straight up. And I'm like, well, I mean, first you need to understand that what you're doing is a business.
Right.
So he's like, we want to go on tour and record an album and do all this. It's probably like similar to, what do I need to do to be $1 million real estate investor? Like, that sounds easy to say on the microphone, but like going out and actually achieving that takes a process and a system, and certain types of things need to happen every day for that to work.
Exactly what we're trying to talk about here. That was exactly what I was going to say. I guarantee you your answer was somewhere in the lines of,
and
don't think about
don't
how
think
you
of don't think about whatever it is that you want to present. Try and present that the best way possible. I wasn't the biggest fan of the guy's music. It was like screamy heavy metal. That doesn't mean there's not a market for it. There is a market for that. But listen, you got to understand what your market is. And driving around singing for no money, it's not 1998 anymore. Okay, that would not be what I would suggest that you do. What I do suggest that you would do is invest in getting your music in front of people online, building an online fan base, communicating with that fan base, and then building an audience in areas around where you live. This is what I did in California, and I played a shitload of shows in California. Laguna Beach, Dana Point, La Jolla, all these different areas. Seal Beach was up by LA and Long Beach, Santa Monica. I played a loop for years, boom, ba-boom, ba-boom, all over Southern California, which is like the place that's impossible to make it in, because I didn't try to go too far outside of the circle that was going to keep me surviving, my quote-unquote fan base. If you can build in any business, I wouldn't drive to Ohio or St. Louis right now to try and do a real estate deal. I would probably try and find something in Fort Worth and Dallas and by the Louisville Lake or the Colony or whatever. Like, I'm just thinking outside the box. The same way that I would try and get a music gig. If I was trying to get a weekly Thursday night gig, I'm not going to fucking drive all the way to Chicago to play it.
Right.
That doesn't even make sense.
Well, it's like you said, if you relay that over. So if someone said, hey, how can I be $1 million real estate investor? The first thing I'm going to ask them is, what are your processes in place to
make
get
that
monetary goal? And, you know, also, what's your motive behind why you want to do this? And a lot of times, you know, if someone has passion and they have, you know, and
you can't teach that.
You can understand that they're going to have the grit to get through everything they're about to have to see in order to even attempt to get to the other side of that. And so, but yeah, it's super important. Utilize these networks, folks. You know, processes, procedures. You know, look into who's doing what around you. I've heard it many times. I'm sure you have, Pat. You know, I get it to bring something new to market. I'm doing that myself. But on the scale of things, we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
No.
Reach out to Pat. Whether or not you say, hey, I'm going to be a good gentleman, and I've asked Pat 10 questions. Let me what's your Venmo? And I send you $100, or, you know, whatever it is. My point is, ask questions.
Right.
But do it in a professional manner. Show that you care. Show that there's character there, because everyone does get blasted with a lot of, can I pick your brain? Don't do that. Be passionate, be patient, you know, read up, participate, and folks will start to notice, okay, this guy cares or gal cares about what they're doing.
Right. And the coolest part about that guy, I think it was his mom that messaged me. I think her son is in a band with some people, and she messaged me because I knew her from wherever and asked me, what should they do to make it in music? Like, you know, let's be honest, you don't start playing music to not be a rock star. And they found some local Facebook thing, did a banned car wash. This is where it gets good. Did a banned car wash and raised money. Did a Facebook ad and gave away the EP, the 5 songs or the 3 songs, whatever it was, for free. Collected a boatload of email addresses within the, I think it was a St. Louis band, within the St. Louis area, sold out a local show, and then like got hired to play at some festival in Chicago, got paid for it. Okay, so a 5-hour, 4-hour, 5-hour drive is not horrible. Okay, then they moved into another market that was within a reasonable distance, and then they had another show on the way back. So they got paid to be, then they paid on the way back. Then it's just like, dude, they're starting to build a business because they didn't try to go too wide. Like you said, sometimes, you know, you want to explode in different areas, but you want to also make sure that your core scene is supporting you. That's with anything. You want to be efficient. That to me, and that's where I failed, Pat. Sorry, brother. I was just going to say, you want to be efficient. Good. Because that's where I failed, was trying to go too wide. And then what happens is, even though the integrity's there, I can't perform. Right. You see what I mean? I can't keep my hand on the thermostat, and then I fell flat on my face many times. And so I think it's super important to be aware of those type things and who will impact. But I understand the lessons that come from those things too. So I'm just trying to give positive advice. It isn't a direct answer. Like you said, we've learned a shit ton from going through it the wrong ways. But also, I don't think it hurts to learn some things a little easier. Absolutely. And like I said, use the tools that are right in front of you. You know, that's right. That's right. You grow your page with whatever you're at, and it's slow sometimes, but that's the best way to go, in my opinion, with anything. I don't have the biggest following or page, but the people that do follow me are just taskmasters now, because I put myself around those people. I'm one of them. Right. So, right. And so we all win in the long run. So anyway, if you guys want to join those groups, Craig's got groups, I got groups, message us, figure out what it is you want to do, where your goal is, figure out the process that it's going to take to get there, and fill in the blanks, man. I mean, it's a wide open spectrum. It's a wide open highway these days. You can pretty much do anything these days. And the old conventional ways of success have been shown to not always work. That's right. That goes for anything. I mean, if you're going to be a nurse or something, you got to go to college. If you're going to be an attorney or an accountant or any of the things that like everyone in my family is, then you got to go to college. But like for what I did, I went to a couple different schools, but most of them were for computers and production and stuff like that, which back then wasn't really looked at as school or college. But you went through school. I knew where the marketplace was going. Yeah. Once people started stealing files off CDs, I was like, oh, well, I know where this is going. Everybody's stealing everything. Your processes and the things you went through, that was just your version of school, brother. Yep. You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. No matter what, you paid your time. You did just like anyone else paying tuition and paying college. You paid for it with sweat equity and hard-earned money. Absolutely. So, I mean, guys, go out there, kick some ass, and figure out the most efficient process. I mean, dude, ask somebody. If I would have had people to ask back in the day, I would have asked them. Yeah, and Pat, I just want to throw one thing. I'm going to actually tag you in a post. Cool. And really, genuinely, folks, I don't have any sales pitch, neither will Pat. This is genuinely just to see if we help one person. We're gonna just throw a post out there. I'm gonna tag you in that and see any questions. Please participate. It's for your own value. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're doing another episode tomorrow, and so maybe we could maybe we bring somebody on Skype. Yeah, that has a question. That would be perfect. Let's do it. That would be perfect. So, yeah, you guys, hit up Craig's page. That's where we stream from. Hit us up on iTunes, on Spotify, all the major podcast platforms, and we will see you soon.